terrifying Bora wind howled at over 100 kilometers per hour, Mateo's father would walk both of them home. The two children would hold hands tightly, turning it into a game. "Don't let go, Julia," Mateo would yell over the roar of the wind. "Never," she would laugh back, her cheeks flushed bright pink from the biting cold. The endless summers of Barcola. If school was where they learned.
This place is magical, Mateo! The chocolate is perfect!
The summer camps, Centri Estivi, were where their souls knit together. Every year, as June arrived and the school doors slammed shut, Mateo and Julia were enrolled in the same local summer program down by the coast in Barcola. Barcola is the heartbeat of a Triestino summer. It isn't a sandy beach, but a long, maritime, pine-lined concrete promenade where locals lay down their towels directly on the stone,
Wow, your painting is amazing, Julia.
affectionately calling themselves Topolini, little mice, as they sunbathe and dive into the deep blue water.
Julia, look how blue the water
For Mateo and Julia, these summers were magical. The morning ritual, meeting at the bus stop for the Linea 6, holding duffel bags smelling of sunscreen and salt water.
Part of the summer
The pine trees, playing hide and seek among the maritime pines while the cicadas buzzed intensely overhead. The peach gelato, saving their pocket money to buy 2 scoops of peach and lemon gelato from the kiosk near the water. Mateo was cautious, always checking the depth of the water before diving. Julia was fearless. She would leap from the highest concrete platforms, her body cutting through the water like a dolphin, only to surface seconds later, shaking her wet hair and shouting, "Come on, Mateo! The water is perfect." And Mateo would always jump. Not because he loved the heights, but because where Julia went, he naturally followed. One afternoon, when they were 11, they sat at the edge of the Molo Audace, the magnificent stone pier that stretches 40 meters out into the sea in front of Piazza Unità d'Italia. The sun was setting, painting the sky in streaks of violet, orange, and gold. "Do you think we'll always be like this?" Julia asked softly, swinging her legs over the deep water. "Even when we grow up and go to different schools?" Mateo looked at her profile, illuminated by the dying sun. He felt a sudden, fierce wave of protectiveness. "Yes," he said firmly. "It doesn't matter what school we go to. You're my best friend, Julia. That's never going to change." Julia leaned her head against his shoulder. It was a simple, innocent gesture. But to Mateo, the entire bustling city of Trieste seemed to fade into a quiet, reverent silence.
Wow, this place is huge. We'll be fine, Mateo.
This is it, Mateo. Are you ready?
Ready as I'll ever be.
The transition
Eccoci qui,
to
Giulia.
secondary school growth
Andrà
has a
tutto
way
bene.
of complicating simple things. When September arrived after their 13th summer, everything changed.
Eccoci
They
qui, Matteo.
transitioned from the cozy, familiar world of their childhood neighborhood school to a larger secondary school, Scuola Secondaria di Secondo Grado,
We'll be fine, Mateo.
closer to the city center. The new school brought new pressures. They were no longer in the
This is it,
same
Matteo.
classroom.
Are you ready?
Mateo was
Ready as
placed
I'll
in the
ever be.
scientific track, while Julia chose the linguistic lyceum. Suddenly, their days weren't perfectly aligned anymore. Their shift in horizons. Mateo, scientific track, separate classrooms. Therefore, Chang in social circles. Julia, linguistic lyceum. New friends surrounded Julia. She blossomed into a striking teenager, her laughter still loud but now attracting the attention of older boys. Mateo grew taller, his shoulders broadening, his quiet demeanor turning into a thoughtful, observant maturity. He joined the local rowing club, spending his afternoons pulling oars through the choppy waters of the Adriatic, channeling his unspoken feelings into physical strength. They still saw each other, but the easy, effortless closeness of childhood required effort now. They would pass each other in the crowded school corridors. "Hi, Matteo," Julia would call out, surrounded by a group of laughing girlfriends. "Hey, Julia," Matteo would reply with a warm, steady smile, though a small ache would form in his chest at the distance between them. Yet, the foundations they built in Barcola and on Via Commerciale were too deep to be eroded by a few months of high school social shifts. One stormy November afternoon, the Bora struck with a vengeance. The city was paralyzed, buses were delayed, and the rain flew horizontally through the streets. Matteo stood under the awning of the school entrance, wrapping his scarf tightly around his neck, preparing to battle the weather alone. "Matteo, wait." He turned to see Julia running toward him, her umbrella completely broken and inverted by the wind, a breathless smile on her face. "I don't think I can make it up the hill by myself today," she panted. Her eyes...
Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche io ti amo, per sempre.
Giulia, I will love you forever.
Matteo, my heart belongs only to you.
just like they used to when they were 7. "Can we walk together?" Matteo felt a familiar warmth erase the winter chill. He reached out and took her hand, his larger, stronger grip completely enveloping hers. "Always," he said. As they walked up the steep inclines toward their neighborhood, leaning into the wind together, the years of separate classes and new friends dissolved. They were just Matteo and Julia again, navigating the storm, side by side. The unspoken shift. By the time they reached their 3rd year of secondary school, their friendship had quietly
Eccoci
evolved
qui,
into
Matteo.
something
Già, fa un
profound
po'
and
impressione,
undeniable.
ma staremo insieme.
It was no longer just the affection of childhood playmates.
Can you believe we
It was a
finally made
deep,
it to 3rd year?
magnetic pull that neither of them knew
It is
how to
going to be our
voice
best year yet.
without risking the beautiful bond they already possessed. Matteo's rowing regattas became a permanent fixture on Julia's weekend calendar. She would stand at the edge of the pine-lined shore in Barcola, screaming his name as his boat cut through the finish line. When he stepped off the docks, exhausted and soaked, the first person his eyes searched for among the crowds was always her. And she was always there, holding a dry towel and a fresh bottle of water. In return, Matteo became the quiet anchor to Julia's vibrant, sometimes chaotic world. He helped her study for her grueling Latin and literature exams, sitting for hours at the municipal library of Attilio Hortis, surrounded by the smell of old paper and the soft scratching of pens.
Giulia,
One
I will
evening,
love
after the library closed, they walked up to the castle of San Giusto. The ancient fortress overlooked the entire city, providing a panoramic view of the red-tiled roofs, the grand palaces, and the endless sea. The night was warm, a rare gentle breeze replacing the harsh Bora. They leaned against the stone ramparts, looking out at the lights of the ships docked in the harbor. "Everything looks so small from up here," Julia whispered, her hair catching the amber glow of the castle lights. "Sometimes I feel like the future is this massive, terrifying thing, Matteo. Everyone expects us to know who we want to be."
Trieste is beautiful, isn't it?
It's absolutely perfect. Do you remember when we came here as kids?
Yeah, the summer school at Centri Estivi was the best.
Eccoci qui, Matteo.
Già, fa un po' impressione, ma staremo insieme. Giulia, Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche io ti amo.
Want to be? Matteo looked at her, She was wearing a simple summer dress, and the girl who used to break blue crayons had become the most breathtaking person he had ever seen. "You don't have to know everything right now, Julia," Matteo said, his voice deep and steady. "But whatever you choose to do, and wherever you decide to go, I know you're going to be incredible." Julia turned her head to look at him. The distance between them was mere inches. She looked at his eyes, steady and full of an unspoken devotion that had been there for nearly a decade. "And what about you, Matteo? Where will you be?" "Right here," he said, his heart hammering against his ribs. "Where I've always been." Julia's breath hitched. She reached out, her fingers gently brushing against his arm, tracing the line of his forearm down to his hand. She didn't hold it this time. She just let her fingers rest against his, a quiet, electric acknowledgement of the tension that now lived between them. Chapter 5. The Miramare Promise. The culmination of their journey came in the late spring of their final teenage years, before university life would inevitably beckon. The school year was winding down, and the scent of jasmine filled the Triestino air. Matteo asked Julia to meet him on a Sunday afternoon. He didn't take her to the usual spots in the city center, or the familiar concrete blocks of Barcola. Instead, they took a long walk down the coastal road toward the castle of Miramar, the stunning white fairy tale castle built on a cliffside by Archduke Ferdinand Maximilian of Austria for his wife, Charlotte of Belgium. The castle grounds were a lush paradise of exotic trees, hidden paths, and stone steps leading directly into the transparent waters of the marine reserve. They walked along the shaded pathways, talking about everything and nothing, until they reached a secluded stone terrace that jutted out over the cliff, completely surrounded by the sea. The water below was so...
Julia, I will love you forever.
Matteo, my heart belongs only to you.
Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche
piace
io ti
stare
amo,
qui?
per sempre.
Con te è bellissimo.
Leading directly into the transparent waters of the marine reserve. They walked along the shaded pathways, talking about everything and nothing, until they reached a secluded stone terrace that jutted out over the cliff, completely surrounded by the sea. The water below was so clear that they could see the fish darting between the rocks. Julia stopped, looking out at the horizon where the blue of the water met the blue of the sky in a seamless blend. "It's beautiful today," she said softly. Matteo didn't look at the sea. He was looking at her. Julia. Something in his tone made her turn around. The playful, casual air of their usual conversations was gone, replaced by an intensity that made the air feel heavy. "I've been trying to find the right words for a really long time," Matteo began, taking a step closer to her. "But I realized that there are no new words, just the ones I've felt since we were kids sitting in that classroom on Via Commerciale." Julia's eyes softened, a beautiful, emotional light shining within them. "I don't just love you as my best friend, Julia," Matteo said, his voice unwavering, filled with the strength of a young man who knew exactly what his heart wanted. "I am completely, entirely in love with you. I have been for as long as I can remember. Every time the wind blows, every time I look at this sea, I think of you. You are my home." A tear slipped down Julia's cheek, but it was accompanied by a radiant, breathless smile. She didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, closing the remaining distance between them, and placed her hands gently on his chest, right over his racing heart.
I'm so glad we came here to relax. It is absolutely perfect.
I agree. Julia, you know I love you more than anything. I want to spend forever with you. Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa. Sei tutta la mia vita. Ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche io ti amo, per sempre.
Giulia, Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche io ti amo.
I have been for as long as I can remember. Every time the wind blows, every time I look at this sea, I think of you. You are my home. A tear slipped down Julia's cheek, but it was accompanied by a radiant, breathless smile. She didn't hesitate. She stepped forward, closing the remaining distance between them, and placed her hands gently on his chest, right over his racing heart. "You idiot," she whispered affectionately, her voice trembling slightly. "What took you so long?" "I wanted to be sure you were ready," Matteo replied, his hands finding her waist, his touch gentle yet firm. "I've been ready since you gave me your blue crayon," she confessed. And there, on the stone terrace of Miramar, with the Adriatic Sea witnessing their transition from childhood companions to the love of each other's lives, Matteo leaned down and kissed her. Chapter 1. The sunlit desks of Via Commerciale. The city of Trieste has a way of shaping its people through its contradictions. It is a place where the heavy, grand architecture of the Habsburg Empire meets the wild, untamable blue of the Adriatic Sea, and where the fierce Bora wind can sweep through the streets, forcing people to hold on to handrails just to stay upright. For Matteo and Giulia, Trieste wasn't just a backdrop. It was the silent witness to a bond that began before they even knew how to name it. They met at 7 years old, sitting at adjacent wooden desks in a sun-drenched classroom of an elementary school, nestled near Via Commerciale. Matteo was a quiet boy with a mop of unruly dark hair and scraped knees from chasing footballs on concrete pitches. Giulia was a whirlwind of energy, her bright eyes reflecting the shifting colors of the sea, her laughter loud enough to echo down the high-ceilinged hallways.
Do you remember when we came here as kids?
Yeah, the summer school at Centri Estivi was the best. Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa. Sei tutta la mia vita. Giulia, ti amo. Sei tutta la mia vita.
The monolith on the hill. The transition from the sheltered corridors of secondary school to the grand, imposing architecture of the Università degli Studi di Trieste felt like stepping onto a broader, more unpredictable stage. Perched high on the hill of Piazzale Europa, the main university building stood like a white stone monolith, looking out over the entire Gulf of Trieste. For Matteo and Giulia, entering these gates wasn't just a step toward their futures. It was the ultimate testing ground for a love born in childhood. They had won their places in their respective chosen fields. Matteo, with his analytical mind and quiet focus, entered the rigorous world of mechanical engineering. Giulia, brilliant and expressive, claimed her spot in the prestigious Advanced School of Modern Languages for Interpreters and Translators, SSLMIT. The physical distance between their lecture halls was small, but the social worlds they occupied suddenly expanded exponentially. The university was a melting pot of students from all over Italy and Europe, and almost instantly, the childhood sweethearts from Via Commerciale found themselves thrust into a bright, distracting spotlight. The radiance of Giulia. If Giulia had been a captivating teenager, the arrival of her university years saw her bloom into a genuinely breathtaking young woman. She possessed an elegant, undeniable grace, a rare combination of the fiery, laughing girl Mateo had always protected and a sophisticated intellectual. Her dark hair fell in soft curls past her shoulders. Her eyes held the shifting, deep green-blue hues of the Adriatic, and she carried herself with an innate, magnetic poise that turned heads the moment she crossed the threshold of any room. It did not take long for the campus to notice. In the crowded hallways of the humanities department, she became an instant sensation. The law students, wealthy, sharply dressed young men from a...
I'm so glad we came here to relax. It is absolutely perfect.
I agree. Giulia, you know I love you more than anything. I want to spend forever with you.
È bellissimo essere qui con te.
Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa. Questo posto è magico. Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Wealthy, sharply dressed young men from upper-class Italian families who tried to strike up conversations by offering her perfectly typed lecture notes. The international exchange students, sophisticated visitors who tried to impress her with stories of Paris, Madrid, and Vienna during coffee breaks at the campus bar. The local admirers, the fixture of eligible bachelors who intentionally timed their study sessions at the university library just to watch her read. Mateo saw it all. He observed the lingering glances, the deliberate attempts to sit next to her in the lecture halls, and the smooth invitations to exclusive student galas down in the old city. One crisp October morning, as they grabbed a quick espresso between classes, a tall, handsome senior from the architecture department boldly approached their table, completely ignoring Mateo's imposing presence. He slid a flyer for a private yacht party in Barcola toward Giulia. "We're celebrating the end of the first exam block this Friday," the student said, flashing a practiced, confident smile. "I'd be honored if you came, Giulia. I could arrange a ride for you." Giulia didn't even look at the flyer. Instead, her hand instinctively found Mateo's under the small wooden table, her fingers interlocking tightly with his. She looked up at the senior, her expression polite, but completely detached. "Thank you for the invitation," Giulia said, her voice smooth and unwavering. "But my Friday nights belong strictly to my boyfriend. We have a standing date by the sea." The student's smile faltered. He looked at Mateo, who sat perfectly still, his broad shoulders squared, his gaze calm but fiercely steady, and quietly excused himself. When they were alone, Mateo let out a soft breath, tracing the back of Giulia's hand with his thumb. He was persistent. Giulia laughed, that same musical, unbridled sound that had echoed through the pine trees of Barcola when they were 11. "Let them be persistent, amore mio. They are chasing a shadow."
Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa. Sei tutta la mia vita.
The student's smile faltered. He looked at Mateo, who sat perfectly still, his broad shoulders squared, his gaze calm but fiercely steady, and quietly excused himself. When they were alone, Mateo let out a soft breath, tracing the back of Giulia's hand with his thumb. He was persistent. Giulia laughed, that same musical, unbridled sound that had echoed through the pine trees of Barcola when they were 11. "Let them be persistent, amore mio. They are chasing a shadow. They don't know that my heart was claimed before I even knew what a heart was for." The silent pull of Mateo yet, Julia was not the only one navigating the choppy waters of unwanted attention. Matteo, too, had changed. The boy with the messy hair and scraped knees had grown into a tall, athletic man with a quiet, grounded confidence that drew people in like a gravitational force. His years of competitive rowing had given him a powerful, commanding stature, and his sharp, dark eyes reflected an intelligence that was both intimidating and incredibly attractive. In the engineering faculties, where women were in the minority, the arrival of a handsome, focused rower didn't go unnoticed. During lab sessions, female classmates would frequently ask to partner with him, ostensibly for his mathematical precision, but lingering long after the formulas were solved. At the University Rowing Club along the Barcola coast, groups of girls from other departments would sit on the stone walls, pretending to study while actually watching Matteo guide his boat through the waves, his muscles working in perfect rhythmic synchronization. Julia witnessed these subtle advances with a quiet, knowing smile, though a spark of...
You look beautiful.
Thank you, Matteo. Do you remember when we came here as kids?
Yeah, the summer school at Centri Estivi was the best. Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa. Sei tutta la mia vita.
He's really good, isn't he?
Giulia,
Hey guys, just getting here. Perfect timing, Julia. Hey guys, did I miss anything?
were solved. At the University Rowing Club along the Barcola coast, groups of girls from other departments would sit on the stone walls, pretending to study while actually watching Matteo guide his boat through the waves, his muscles working in perfect rhythmic synchronization. Julia witnessed these subtle advances with a quiet, knowing smile, though a spark of possessive warmth always flared in her chest. One afternoon, she walked down to the docks to surprise him after his training session. As she approached, she saw two beautiful girls from the economics track leaning over the pier, laughing loudly at something Matteo had said as he tied up his boat. One of them reached out, playfully touching his arm to steady herself.
Bellissimo, sì.
Matteo politely stepped back, maintaining a respectful distance, his expression courteous but entirely professional. When he looked up and saw Julia standing under the maritime pines, his entire face transformed. The serious, stoic athlete vanished, replaced instantly by the boy who would give her his last blue crayon. He left the boat, jogged up the stone steps, and wrapped his damp, powerful arms completely around her, lifting her slightly off the ground right in front of his admirers. "You're early," he whispered into her hair, inhaling the scent of her jasmine perfume. "I wanted to see if the sea nymphs were trying to steal my rower away," Julia teased softly, her eyes locked onto his. Matteo leaned down, kissing her thoroughly, a sweet, lingering declaration that left no room for doubt for anyone watching on the shore. "The sea nymphs have no power over me, Julia," he murmured against her lips. "I only answer to one siren."
it was absolutely perfect. The professors can dance.
The professors can actually dance. I can't believe we actually pulled it off.
It was a huge success. Everyone loved it.
Did you see Leo dancing? It was hilarious.
Julia, it was an absolute success.
Did you see Leo dancing on the table?
I can't believe we actually pulled it off.
Right? It was a huge success and so fun.
Did you see Leo dancing?
Unbelievable.
The trials of the autumn ball. The true test of their resolve arrived with the annual University Autumn Ball, a grand event held in the glittering reception rooms of a historic palace near Piazza Unità d'Italia. It was the social highlight of the semester, an evening where the entire student body dressed in formal attire to celebrate the rich history of the city and its scholars. Julia arrived looking like an absolute vision. She wore a sweeping emerald green silk dress that complemented the color of her eyes, her hair pinned up elegantly with a few loose curls framing her face. Matteo, sharp and striking in a dark, tailored suit, felt his breath catch in his throat when he met her at the entrance. The moment they walked into the ballroom, a palpable shift went through the crowd. They were, without a doubt, the most striking couple in the room. Yet they were a couple that many still hoped to separate, if only for a single dance. Throughout the night, the challenges came in waves. During a classical waltz, a wealthy law society president managed to cut in, politely requesting a dance with Julia. Protocol dictated acceptance, and Matteo nodded confidently, stepping back to let her go. As the law student spun Julia across the floor, he leaned in, his voice dripping with smooth confidence. You know, Julia, a woman of your stature and intelligence belongs in the grand salons of Milan or Rome, not tied down to a local neighborhood boy who spends his days looking at engine blueprints. Julia stopped mid-step, forcing the student to halt. She looked him dead in the eye, her elegance turning into a cold, regal disdain. The neighborhood boy you speak of has a mind that creates worlds and a heart that is bigger than this entire city, she said clearly, loud enough for the nearby dancers to hear. I would
Giulia, I will love you forever.
Matteo, my heart belongs only to you.
Giulia, ti amo più di ogni altra cosa.
Matteo, anche io ti amo, per sempre.
Giulia, ti amo. Sei tutta la mia vita.
enough for the nearby dancers to hear. I would rather spend a lifetime standing on a concrete pier in the rain with him than a single second in a golden palace with anyone else. She turned on her heel, leaving the student frozen on the dance floor, and walked straight back to Matteo, who had been watching from the edge of the room with a knowing, proud smile. At the exact same time, a group of sophisticated girls had cornered Matteo near the balcony, offering him glasses of champagne and trying to draw his attention away from the floor. You must get so bored, Matteo, staying with the same person since childhood, one of them murmured, shifting closer to him. University is a time for exploration, to experience new things. Matteo looked past them, spotting Julia marching toward him through the crowd, her emerald dress shimmering like the sea. His eyes softened with immense love. Some people explore because they are searching for something they haven't found, Matteo said to the girl, his voice rich and steady. I found what I was looking for when I was 7 years old. I don't need to look anywhere else. The sanctuary above the city, as the music thumped loudly inside the palace, the noise and the constant pressure of the crowd became too much. Matteo caught Julia's hand, giving it a gentle tug. Let's get out of here, he whispered. They slipped out of the grand doors, leaving the whispers, the admirers, and the dazzling lights of the ballroom behind. They climbed into Matteo's old car and drove up the winding roads, higher and higher, leaving the University Hill behind until they reached the quiet sanctuary of the Vicolo della Rose, a secluded viewpoint overlooking the entire illuminated expanse of Trieste. The cold autumn air rushed over them as they stepped out of the car. Julia shivered slightly in her silk dress, but within a second, Matteo was behind her.
I can't believe how perfect the party was.
Did you see Leo's ridiculous dance moves?
He was definitely having the most fun.
I'm so glad we came here to unwind.
Barcola is always the best spot.
Do you remember when we came here as kids?
Yeah, the summer school at Centri Estivi was the best.
This place is magical, Mateo! The chocolate is perfect! Do you think we will stay friends forever? Cross my heart, I will never forget this summer.
Silk dress. But within a second, Mateo was behind her, draping his heavy suit jacket over her bare shoulders. She leaned back against his chest, feeling the steady, rhythmic beat of his heart against her spine. Below them, Trieste was a sea of amber and white lights. The grand palaces of Piazza Unità looked like tiny toy houses, and the dark, vast Adriatic stretched out into the infinite horizon. They try so hard, Julia whispered softly, looking at the city. All those people at the university. They look at us, and they think they can find a crack in the foundation. They think, because we are young, we are fragile. Mateo wrapped his arms tightly around her waist, pulling her flush against him, shielding her from the mountain breeze. Let them try, Mateo murmured, his lips brushing against the shell of her ear. They don't understand what we have. They think love is something you find in a ballroom or a lecture hall. They don't know about the Borowins we fought together. They don't know about the shared notebooks, the long walks up Via Comerciale, or the promises we made at Miramare. Julia turned around in his embrace, her hands sliding up the lapels of his shirt, her eyes shining with an emotion so deep it transcended words. I love you, Mateo. In every lecture hall, under every stair, in every corner of this world, my soul only sings for you. And I love you, Julia, he replied, his voice thick with a profound devotion. You are my past, my present, and every single one of my tomorrows.
The professors can dance.
Under the canopy of stars, far above the university that tried to distract them and the crowds that tried to pull them apart, they kissed. It was a kiss of absolute victory, a beautiful, passionate affirmation that their love wasn't just a childhood memory, but an unbreakable, living fortress that would stand against any tide the world threw their way.
For Mateo and Julia, keeping it low-key was never the plan. They embarked on a campaign to make it official.
You can't buy the kind of loyalty we have.
Leaving zero room for ambiguity. Julia, you know he isn't right for you. You deserve so much more.
Don't be too long.
Julia, you deserve better. Here is our coffee.
The grand strategy, making it official. For Mateo and Julia, keeping their relationship low-key was never the plan. In a school where rumors flew faster than text messages, they decided the best way to protect what they had was to make it undeniably, visibly official. They embarked on a deliberate campaign of public dates, both within the school walls and across the city, to ensure that the entire student body and anyone else who cared to look knew they were a definitive item. The school restaurant campaigns. The school restaurant, a bustling hub with floor-to-ceiling windows and a hypersocial atmosphere, served as the primary stage for their announcement. Mateo and Julia knew that visibility here was key to setting the record straight. The center table lunches. Instead of retreating to the quiet corners of the courtyard, Mateo and Julia made a point of claim-staking the highly coveted central circular table during the peak lunch hour. The shared trays. They routinely shared desserts, with Mateo offering Julia the best parts of his meals, a universal signal in high school geometry that boundaries had dissolved. The collaborative playlists. Sitting side by side rather than across from each other, they shared a pair of wireless earbuds, laughing at videos and choosing music together, completely tuned out from the surrounding chatter, but entirely visible to it. The morning cafe ritual. Every Monday and Thursday before the first bell, they met at the school's juice and pastry bar. Mateo would arrive early to secure Julia's favorite iced matcha latte, waiting by the entrance to hand it to her the moment she walked through the doors. The routine became so predictable that classmates began using their arrival as a marker for when regular pre-class socializing was drawing to a close. Weekends and holidays beyond the school gates. To cement their status outside the immediate campus bubble, Mateo and Julia extended their public appearances to the weekends and seasonal holidays, ensuring that
On weekends, the destination was always the boardwalk. Mateo and Julia, moving through the world as a unit.
Julia, you need to leave him. He's not who you think he is.
Just up and down and move around. Touch,
Julia,
touch
I
your
didn't expect
hand
to see you here.
over there.
I actually have to go.
Chicka, chicka, chicka,
this bubble, Mateo and Julia extended their public appearances to the weekends and seasonal holidays, ensuring that crosstown rivals and out-of-school friends received the same clear message. The Saturday boardwalk excursions. On weekends, the destination was almost always the bustling coastal boardwalk. They spent hours walking the pier, deliberately choosing peak afternoon times when large groups from their school were known to hang out near the arcade and food trucks. Visible partnerships. They competed together in casual arcade tournaments, ensuring their names were entered jointly on the high score leaderboards as M and G. The match game. Without being overly dramatic, their styles began to complement each other, coordinating colors and casual streetwear that subtly signaled they walked as a unit. Holiday festivals and public squares. During the autumn festival and winter markets, Mateo and Julia were inseparable. They attended the town's seasonal tree lighting and the autumn bonfire, always moving through the crowds hand in hand. When groups of students from competing schools passed by, Mateo would gently pull Julia closer, a silent but definitive statement of partnership. They documented these outings with casual, unforced photos shared on social media profiles, leaving absolutely zero room for ambiguity. The resilience against temptation. The clarity of their relationship was put to the test by Gabrielle, a wealthy and influential student who had been trying to win Julia's attention for months. Unwilling to accept that Julia was genuinely unavailable, Gabrielle attempted to use his considerable resources to disrupt the bond between her and Mateo. Gabrielle's campaign of opulence. Gabrielle approached the situation with a strategy of overwhelming generosity, hoping to offer a lifestyle and perks that he assumed would eclipse what Mateo could provide. The offer, the context, Julia's.
Julia, you need to leave him. He is not who you think. Everything okay here?
Don't be too long.
Julia, you deserve better. Here is our coffee. Julia, you know he isn't right for you. You deserve so much more.
To disrupt the bond between her and Mateo. Gabrielle's campaign of opulence. Gabrielle approached the situation with a strategy of overwhelming generosity, hoping to offer a lifestyle and perks that he assumed would eclipse what Mateo could provide. The offer, the context, Julia's reaction. Front row concert tickets. Hard to get passes to a sold-out music festival Julia loved, politely declined, stating she already had plans to watch the live stream with Mateo. Designer accessories, a luxury backpack delivered via a mutual friend during study hall. returned immediately to Gabrielle's locker with a note reinforcing her boundaries. Exclusive VIP invites. An invitation to an exclusive catered beach party over the holiday break declined outright, choosing instead to attend a simple bonfire with Matteo and his close friends. The definitive refusal. Gabrielle's most direct attempt occurred during a holiday weekend at a local cafe, where he intercepted Julia while she was waiting for Matteo to arrive. He openly questioned what she saw in a simple relationship when she could have access to the trips, gifts, and status he was offering. Julia didn't hesitate. She looked Gabrielle in the eye and made it clear that her connection with Matteo wasn't something that could be bartered or upgraded. "You're offering things, Gabrielle," Julia said calmly, ensuring a few surrounding students could hear. "Matteo offers real partnership, consistency, and respect. You can't buy the kind of loyalty we have, so you can stop trying." When Matteo walked into the cafe moments later, Julia didn't mention the confrontation to cause drama. She simply took his hand, smiled, and walked out into the afternoon sun, leaving Gabrielle and any remaining doubts behind. Through every shared lunch, public weekend walk, and rejected gift, the message remained unwavering. Matteo and Julia were a team, and no amount of outside noise was going to change that.
You look beautiful.
Thank you, Matteo.
We did it, Julia, together.
The best team in the world.
We finally made it, Julia. We finally made it, Julia.
To the best years of our lives.
May I have this dance?
No, thank you. I am with Matteo.
The final year of university always carries a bittersweet weight. For Matteo and Julia, it was a whirlwind of late-night library sessions, endless cups of coffee, and the looming anticipation of the future. As the final exams concluded and the grading rubrics were put away, the reality of their impending graduation began to sink in. To mark the end of this major chapter, Matteo's department organized a farewell party, an exclusive, students-only gala designed to give the graduating class one last night to celebrate their achievements together before scattering into the professional world. A night of elegance and reflection. The venue was beautifully decorated, striking a perfect balance between a nostalgic retrospective of the past 4 years and a sophisticated send-off into adulthood. The dress code was formal, and as the guests began to arrive, the atmosphere filled with an undeniable sense of accomplishment and mutual respect. The arrivals, students arrived looking their absolute best, accompanied by their dates and loved ones who had supported them through the academic grind. Gabrielle and Matilda, Gabrielle, Matteo's close classmate, arrived looking sharp alongside his regular girlfriend, Matilda.
We're almost there, Julia. It was absolutely perfect. The professors can dance.
The professors can actually dance.
Julia, it was an absolute success.
Their absolute best, accompanied by their dates and loved ones who had supported them through the academic grind. Gabrielle and Matilda. Gabrielle, Mateo's close classmate, arrived looking sharp alongside his regular girlfriend, Matilda. Their easygoing banter and familiar warmth added to the welcoming, communal vibe of the evening. The grand entrance. As expected by everyone in the department, Mateo and Julia arrived hand in hand. An inseparable bond. Throughout their university years, Mateo and Julia's relationship had evolved from quiet glances across lecture halls into an unbreakable partnership. They had balanced demanding course loads, group projects, and personal milestones side by side. Tonight, the farewell party became the ultimate testament to their journey. They didn't need to make a grand announcement. The way they moved through the room, seamlessly introducing each other to peers and celebrating each other's successes, made it clear to everyone that they were a definitive unit. While typical college gatherings can sometimes veer into chaotic energy, this evening was entirely different. True to their impending status as graduates, the final year students maintained a remarkable.
Julia, it was an absolute success.
Did you see Leo dancing on the table? I can't believe we actually pulled it off.
It was a huge success. Everyone loved it.
Did you see Leo dancing? It was hilarious. We finally made it. Through all the late nights and endless coffee, this is our time. Congratulations to the graduating class.
Party became the ultimate testament to their journey. They didn't need to make a grand announcement. The way they moved through the room, seamlessly introducing each other to peers and celebrating each other's successes, made it clear to everyone that they were a definitive unit. While typical college gatherings can sometimes veer into chaotic energy, this evening was entirely different. True to their impending status as graduates, the final year students maintained a remarkable level of maturity, self-control, and dignity. The night was defined by genuine laughter, heartfelt speeches from class representatives, and nostalgic toasts to the future, rather than reckless behavior. Looking to the future. As the night wound down and the music transitioned to a softer rhythm, Mateo and Julia took to the floor. For the onlookers, it was the perfect picture of two people ready to face the next chapter of life together. They had not only survived the rigors of academia, but they had also built a foundation that would outlast their university days. The party concluded with a collective sense of closure. Leaving the venue that night, Mateo and Julia walked out just as they had walked in, hand in hand, completely inseparable, and ready for whatever came next.
Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime, because I'm going nowhere. Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime, because I'm going nowhere.
Forever, hand in hand.
Julia,
The Trieste chapter Mateo, 24,
because I'm going nowhere.
a brilliant, grounded structural engineer. Works at Fincantieri/Trieste Marine Engineering. Deeply loyal, thoughtful, but occasionally overwhelmed by professional responsibility. Julia, 24. A sharp, elegant corporate banker at Generali Bank Trieste. Analytical, fiercely ambitious, yet deeply romantic and emotionally intuitive. Alessandro, 28. A charismatic senior vice president at Julia's bank. Wealthy, polished, used to getting what he wants. Elena, 25. An energetic, talented design engineer working closely with Matteo. Expressive and openly admiring of Matteo's talent and character. The anchor and the current piazza. Unità d'Italia. Dusk, the Adriatic Sea laps gently against the stone edge of the Molo Audace. The grand illuminated facades of Piazza Unità d'Italia glow warm gold against a deep blue twilight sky. The sharp Trieste wind, the Bora, whispers through the open space. Matteo stands near the edge of the pier, hands buried deep in the pockets of a tailored wool overcoat. His eyes are fixed on the horizon. The sea meets the sky. Footsteps click sharply on the stone behind him. He turns. Julia approaches. She wears a sharp, midnight blue corporate suit under a beige trench coat. Her hair is slightly windswept, but her smile instantly cuts through the chill. Matteo steps forward, opening his coat slightly to wrap his arms around her as they collide. They hold each other tightly, a familiar, grounding embrace. Matteo, softly, into her hair. 6 months ago, we were writing thesis conclusions. Now, I have to wear a hard hat.
Do you remember Barcola?
We were just kids at the summer camp.
I still love gelato. Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime.
Because I know where. You are my home. My heart is yours.
Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime. Because I'm going nowhere. This is the biggest challenge yet.
But we are building the future, Matteo.
Matteo, softly, into her hair. 6 months ago, we were writing thesis conclusions. Now, I have to wear a hard hat, and you look like you own half the city. Julia, laughing, pulling back to look at him. I wish. Today, I managed portfolios that made my head spin. But the moment I left the building and saw the sea, I remembered why we stayed here, why we chose Trieste. Matteo. We chose it because it's beautiful, because we promised we'd conquer it together. He takes her hand. Their fingers interlock perfectly, the exact same grip from their university farewell party. Julia, how is the new apartment treating you? Still living out of cardboard boxes? Matteo, hey, I finally assembled the bookshelf last night. Progress is slow, but it's happening. And yours, Julia? It's quiet. Too quiet on Tuesday nights when I'm used to you making terrible, oversalted pasta in the student dorms. Matteo, smiling. That pasta built character, Julia. But we have a deal. Sunday to Friday, we build our empires. Friday night to Sunday night, we belong to each other. Julia, no laptop screens, no corporate jargon, just us. They turn together, walking hand in hand down the pier, silhouetted against the grand lights of the piazza. Matteo's apartment. Saturday morning, sunlight streams through a large arched window, overlooking the red-tiled roofs of San Giusto. The apartment is minimalist, filled with engineering blueprints, a few potted plants, and a record player spinning a soft jazz track. Julia sits at the kitchen.
While Matteo faces his own test in the lab, Julia, Act 2, explores the whispers of temptation.
We secure a fixed 5% yield.
While Matteo faces his own test in the lab, Julia is who I am. love going everywhere with you.
Okay.
Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime, because I'm going nowhere.
Saturday morning, sunlight streams through a large arched window overlooking the red-tiled roofs of San Giusto. The apartment is minimalist, filled with engineering blueprints, a few potted plants, and a record player spinning a soft jazz track. Julia sits at the kitchen island, wrapped in one of Matteo's oversized linen shirts, sipping espresso from a small ceramic cup. Matteo stands at the stove, expertly flipping pancakes. Julia, you've improved. No salt in sight. Matteo, when you only get 2 days a week to impress the top banker in Trieste, you step up your game. He sets a plate down in front of her, leaning over to kiss her cheek. He sits beside her, taking her free hand across the counter. Julia, my manager mentioned the upcoming Euro Investment Summit next month. They want me on the core presentation team. It's a massive promotion track, Matteo, but it means late nights, extra weekend prep. Matteo's smile fades slightly, replaced by a supportive, albeit quiet nod. Matteo, you've worked harder than anyone I know, Julia. You deserve to be on that stage. We'll make it work. If you have to review files on a Saturday morning, I'll just sit next to you and draw bridge stress tests. Julia, squeezing his hand. You aren't worried. Some of the girls from university. They said separate apartments and high-stress careers are a recipe for drifting apart. Matteo, let them talk. We aren't them. We built our foundation on 4 years of shared dreams. A few kilometers of Trieste streets and a couple of demanding bosses can't shake that. The whispers of temptation. Generali Bank.
She is going to be the finest ship we've ever built.
Perfect engineering, Matteo.
This is the biggest challenge yet.
But we are building the future, Matteo.
Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime, because I'm going nowhere.
We finally made it. Through all the late nights and endless coffee, this is our time. Congratulations to the graduating class.
I know, Julia. You deserve to be on that stage. We'll make it work. If you have to review files on a Saturday morning, I'll just sit next to you and draw bridge stress tests. Julia, squeezing his hand. You aren't worried. Some of the girls from university. They said separate apartments and high-stress careers are a recipe for drifting apart. Matteo, let them talk. We aren't them. We built our foundation on 4 years of shared dreams. A few kilometers of Trieste streets and a couple of demanding bosses can't shake that. The whispers of temptation. Generali Bank, high-end restaurant. Thursday night, a sleek, glass-walled private dining room overlooking the Gulf of Trieste. Crystal glasses clink. Julia sits at a long mahogany table surrounded by senior executives, wealthy international clients. Sitting directly across from her is Alessandro, 28. He is impeccably dressed, possessing the effortless charm of someone born into old money and corporate royalty. He watches Julia with undeniable interest as she flawlessly explains a complex fiscal strategy. Julia, by restructuring the maritime bonds through local infrastructure funds, we minimize the volatility while securing a fixed 5% yield for the Trieste port expansion. The clients nod in high approval. Dinner begins to wind down into casual chatter. Alessandro pours Julia a glass of vintage wine. Alessandro, brilliant analysis. Julia, truly, you have a rare gift. You see the human element behind the dry numbers. Julia, thank you, Alessandro. I learned from watching how the local businesses actually interact with the poor.
I love going everywhere with you. Julia, promise you will be there for me anytime.
Because I know where. You are my home. My heart is yours.
Julia, you need to leave him. He is not who you think. Everything okay here?
Don't be too long.
Julia, you deserve better. Here is our coffee. Julia, you know he isn't right for you. You deserve so much more.
She's gonna be the finest ship we've ever built, Julia.
I have no doubt, Matteo. We made a great team.
I love going everywhere with you.
Behind the dry numbers. Julia, thank you, Alessandro. I learned from watching how the local businesses actually interact with the port. It's not just data, it's people. Alessandro, leaning in, lowering his voice. A perspective like yours shouldn't be confined to a regional branch. I'm heading to the Milan headquarters for a major gala next weekend. I have an extra VIP invitation. The board directors will all be there. I'd love for you to be my guest. It would do wonders for your career. Julia pauses, her glass hovering near her lips. She looks at Alessandro's charming, expectant smile. The offer is a fast-track ticket to executive status. Julia, that sounds like an incredible opportunity, Alessandro. But next weekend is entirely personal for me. I have prior commitments here in Trieste that I cannot break. Alessandro, with a subtle, knowing smile. Ah, the boyfriend. The engineer, right? Julia, you are a rising star. In our world, weekends are currency. Sacrificing a career-defining network event for routine comfort. It's a steep price to pay. Milan is where the future is. Julia, firmly, but maintaining a professional smile. My future is being built right here, Alessandro. And some commitments aren't routine comfort. They are the foundation of everything else. Thank you for the offer, though. Alessandro raises his glass, hiding a flash of disappointment behind a polished mask. Alessandro, to each their own priorities, then.
We are almost there, Matteo.
Let's save this profile. Julia must be waiting.
I'm sending it to the server now. The thermal stress on the hull is still too high.
Let's adjust the alloy composition here. This section must withstand the pressure.
I will run the simulation elation again. Wimulation again. We are almost there, Matteo.
Vincantieri Engineering Lab. Friday night, 8:30 p.m. Fluorescent lights hum. The lab is empty except for one massive drafting table covered in digital monitors and physical schematics of a cruise ship hull. Matteo is rubbing his eyes, typing rapidly into a laptop. Elena, 25, walks in carrying 2 paper cups of strong coffee. She wears a casual flannel shirt over a graphic tee, her hair tied up in a messy bun. She slides a cup toward him. Elena, drink this before you accidentally design a ship that sails backwards, Matteo. Matteo, gratefully taking the cup. Elena, you're a lifesaver. This weight distribution algorithm is driving me insane. If we don't fix the center of gravity by Monday, the Maritime Board rejects the prototype. Elena leans over his shoulder to look at the screen. Her shoulder brushes against his. She smells faintly of lavender and machine oil. She points to a line of code. Elena, look here. You're factoring the ballast tanks as static weights. They're dynamic. Change the variable coefficient to account for fluid motion. Matteo types in the correction. The simulation screen flashes green. Success. Matteo, laughing out loud. Genius. Absolute genius, Elena. I could kiss you. Elena freezes for a fraction of a second, her cheeks flushing slightly. She looks at him, her eyes softening into something deeper than professional camaraderie. Elena, softly. Well, nobody is stopping you. The lab is empty. Matteo catches the shift in her tone. He blinks, the exhaustion fading as he realizes the boundary that was just approached. He gently clears his throat and steps back slightly, creating a respectful distance. Matteo, warmly but firmly, metaphorically speaking, of course. Julia would definitely have something to say about my testing methods. Elena's expression drops slightly, but she recovers quickly with a self-deprecating laugh, shoving her hands into her pockets. Elena, right. Julia, brilliant banker. You know.
I still can't believe you said yes.
I will always say yes to you.
I designed that big ship for our future.
It is as beautiful as that sea.
Julia, I love you more than anything. Will you marry me?
Yes! 1,000 times yes, I will.
You look beautiful.
Thank you, Matteo.
Julia, the brilliant banker. You know, Matteo, you're always talking about her. Always rushing off the second the clock strikes 5 on a Friday. But you're here late tonight. You live alone. Don't you ever feel like you're holding on to an old college dream while your real life is happening right here? In this lab? With people who actually understand the stress you're under. Matteo looks at the screen, then back at Elena. His voice is calm, resolute, and completely devoid of doubt. Matteo, Julia doesn't just understand my stress, Elena. She understands me. This job is what I do. Julia is who I am. There's a big difference. Come on, let's back up the server. It's Friday night, and I have a promise to keep. The storm over the Adriatic Julia's apartment. Saturday evening. Outside, a severe Bora storm has arrived. Rain lashes violently against the glass windows, and the wind howls through the narrow streets of the old town. Inside, the atmosphere is tense. Julia is pacing the living room floor, her phone pressed to her ear. Matteo is sitting on the couch, his laptop open on his knees, staring at an urgent work email. Julia, into phone. Yes, Alessandro, I understand the client changed the terms, but it's Saturday night. No, I cannot come into the office right now. The roads are practically flooded. Fine. Send me the secure link. I'll review the contract from home. She hangs up the phone with a sharp sigh, rubbing her temples. She looks at Matteo, who is aggressively typing. Julia, don't tell me. Your project manager, too? Matteo, sighing, closing his laptop halfway. A minor structural crack appeared in the dry dock hull during the storm surge. They need all structural engineers on the remote diagnostics call in 10 minutes. Julia throws her hands up in frustration, walking over to the window, watching the rain blur the distant lights of the port. Julia, this was supposed to be our sanctuary, Matteo. We said no screens, no corporate world. It feels...
I love you so much. Matteo, it's just so perfect. I still can't believe you asked me at Molo Audace.
It was the perfect place by the sea for us. I still can't believe you said yes.
I love you so much.
left together. Matteo, standing up, walking over to her. Julia, it's an emergency. It will reach speeches, months of work are ruined. It's not a choice. Julia, turning to face him, her eyes bright with sudden vulnerability. Isn't it? Alessandro offered me a ticket to Milan last week, a literal fast track to the top. I turned it down without a second thought because I told him my weekends belong to you. But tonight, your job calls and you jump. Elena could have handled the remote diagnostic, couldn't she? You told me she's a genius. Matteo stops. His tone becomes defensive. Matteo, what does Elena have to do with this? This is my responsibility. And what do you mean Alessandro offered you a trip to Milan? You never mentioned that. Julia, because it didn't matter. Because I chose us. But right now, sitting in separate apartments all week, fighting off smooth-talking executives who tell me I'm wasting my time, while you work late nights with your brilliant co-workers, it gets hard, Matteo. The world is trying to pull us apart, and tonight, it feels like it's winning. The room falls silent except for the roar of the wind outside. Matteo looks at Julia, seeing past her anger into the deep-seated fear of losing what they spent years building. He slowly closes his laptop completely and sets it on the table. He walks over to her, ignoring the ringing notification on his phone. Matteo, let it ring. Julia, blinking. Matteo, your project. Matteo, ship can wait. Elena can log the initial data. Right now, my actual foundation is shaking, and I'm a structural engineer. I know what needs fixing first. He takes her hands. They are cold. He wraps his warmth around them. Matteo, I am sorry. I got caught up in the momentum of proving myself to a company that I forgot I already have everything I need to prove to you. Alessandro, Milan, Elena, the engineering lab. They are just noise, Julia.
Julia, I love you so much. Will you marry me?
Yes, I love you 1,000 times yes! I still can't believe you asked me at Molo Audace.
It was the perfect place by the sea for us. For Matteo and Julia, keeping it low-key was never the plan. They embarked on a campaign to make it official,
You can't buy the kind of loyalty we have.
leaving zero room for ambiguity.
That I forgot I already have everything I need to prove to you. Alessandro, Milan, Elena, the engineering lab. They are just noise, Julia. Our promise wasn't that life would be easy, or that the world would leave us alone. Our promise was that when the storm hit, we would hold on tighter. Julia's shoulders drop. The tension melts out of her face. A tear slips down her cheek, and she laughs softly, wiping it away. Julia, my phone is ringing too. Alessandro just sent the link. Matteo, let's turn them off, both of them. For the next 24 hours, let Trieste cope without its best banker and its most stressed engineer. Julia walks over to the kitchen counter, picks up both of their smartphones, switches them completely off and drops them into a drawer, shutting it with a decisive click. The inseparable horizon, Molo Audace. Sunday afternoon, the storm has passed, leaving the air incredibly crisp and clear. The snow-capped peaks of the Alps are visible in the far distance across the sparkling blue Gulf. The sun shines brilliantly, reflecting off the damp stone pier. Matteo and Julia walk slowly down the center of the Molo Audace. They are dressed casually in matching heavy sweaters and scarves. There is an undeniable peace around them. They reach the very end of the pier where the stone meets the deep blue sea. Julia, looking out at the mountains, I called my regional director this morning. I told him that I am fully committed to the Trieste branch, and I am withdrawing my name from any consideration for the Milan transfer rotation. Matteo turns to her, his eyes wide with admiration. Matteo, are you sure, Julia? That was a massive step. Julia, smiling, leaning against the stone railing. I've never been sure of anything. Success isn't just about how high you climb. It's about who is holding your hand at the top. I don't need Milan to be great. I have everything I need.
Julia, I love you with my whole heart.
I can't do without you.
You spectacular, Julia.
General investment keeps me busy, but you keep me grounded.
Julia, I really need to talk to you.
I have to go.
I also told them that my weekends are non-negotiable. Matteo, pulling a small velvet box from his pocket. Good, because I made a decision this weekend, too. Julia's breath catches in her throat. She stares at the box in his hands. Matteo. I realized that living in separate apartments, waiting for Fridays, it was a good transition phase. But I'm done transitioning. I want to wake up to the sound of the sea with you every single day. I want to build a home where the doors are locked to the rest of the world, and only we have the keys. He opens the box. Inside is a simple, elegant platinum ring, catching the bright Mediterranean sunlight. Matteo Julia, from the lecture halls to the farewell party, to the stormy nights in this city, you are my home. Will you marry me? Julia looks from the ring to his eyes filled with the exact same steady, unwavering devotion she fell in love with years ago. A brilliant smile breaks across her face. Julia? Yes. 1,000 times yes. He slips the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly. He draws her into his arms, and they kiss at the edge of the pier, surrounded by the vast horizon of the Adriatic. The camera pulls back slowly, showing the two of them standing together at the edge of the world, unshakable, mature, and entirely inseparable. Cafe San Marco. Months later, flash forward. The historic, book-lined cafe is bustling with local intellectuals and soft chatter. At a corner table, the sleek wedding invitation sits next to 2 cups of coffee. The invitation reads, Matteo and Julia, together forever. Matteo and Julia sit side by side on a velvet banquette, looking over a floor plan of a beautiful new apartment overlooking the sea. Their hands are resting on the table, their fingers tightly interlocked. The promise made in their final year of university wasn't just a memory of youth. It was the blueprint for their entire lives.
Can you believe this view, Julia?
It is perfect for our family.
We will make so many memories here.
Yes, we certainly will.
To another great weekend. I love it here.
I love it here.
This will be the perfect spot,
We can put the crib
right by the window.
and we'll need a bigger table. For all the Sunday dinners we will host,
Can you believe this view, Julia?
it is perfect for our family.
We will make so many memories here.
Yes, we certainly will.
3 years to forever. The Trieste Crown Matteo, 27. Now a senior project engineer. Confident, deeply loving, and meticulously prepared. Julia, 27. Now a senior wealth manager. Radiant, elegant, celebrating her 27th birthday. Signor Martini, 50s. Julia's father. Traditional, protective, but holds deep respect for Matteo. Signora Martini, 50s. Julia's mother. Intuitive and a champion of the couple's love. The wait of 3 years. Matteo's apartment. Late afternoon. The apartment is vastly different From 3 years ago, the cardboard boxes are gone, replaced by elegant mid-century furniture, framed architectural sketches of Trieste's historic bridges, and a stunning view of the Adriatic Sea. Matteo stands in front of a full-length mirror. He adjusts a crisp black bow tie against a tailored charcoal tuxedo. His hands tremble slightly. He stops, takes a deep breath, and reaches into his breast pocket. He pulls out a small, velvet-lined box. He opens it to reveal a flawless, brilliant cut diamond ring that catches the warm afternoon sun. Matteo, to himself practicing. 3 years ago, we walked out of that university party and I knew. Tonight it becomes official. Julia, you are my past, my present, and, too rehearsed. He sighs, smiles at his own nervousness, and tucks the box securely back into his pocket. He checks his watch. 7:15 p.m. Julia's apartment. At the same time,
3 years ago, we began this journey, and we kept every single promise,
To our future.
without any spaces. We are asking for your blessing to move in together immediately, within a 1-year interval from today. We gladly agree. I still can't believe you said yes.
I will always say yes to you.
I designed that big ship for our future.
It is as beautiful as that sea.
Julia stands in a sea of soft candlelight. She wears a breathtaking emerald green silk evening gown that cascades to the floor, complementing her dark hair. She's putting on a pair of pearl earrings, a gift from Matteo during their first anniversary post-graduation. Her phone buzzes on the vanity. It's a text from Matteo. The carriage awaits downstairs, my birthday girl. She smiles, a brilliant, radiant expression that lights up the room. She grabs her clutch bag, takes one last look in the mirror, and steps out, the door clicking shut behind her. Celebration at Harry's Piccolo. Harry's Piccolo, 5-star restaurant. Night, the epitome of Trieste luxury. Glass chandeliers cast a soft ambient glow over pristine white tablecloths. Huge arched windows offer an unobstructed, majestic view of the illuminated Piazza Unità d'Italia and the dark, shimmering sea beyond. Soft, classical piano music drifts through the air. Matteo and Julia sit at a secluded corner table near the window. A vintage bottle of Franciacorta sits in a silver ice bucket beside them. They have just finished their main course. Julia, laughing softly, lifting her glass. I still can't believe you managed to get a reservation here on a Saturday night. People book Harry Piccolo 6 months in advance, Matteo. Matteo, clinking his glass against hers. For your 27th birthday, and for 3 years of navigating the real world together, I would have bought the restaurant if they let me. Happy birthday, my love. Julia, 3 years. It feels like a lifetime and a heartbeat all at once. Remember when we were worried that our corporate jobs would pull us apart? Matteo, I remember the late night stress, the separate apartments, the weekends we had to fight for. But look at us now. You're managing the city's largest portfolios and I'm designing its future skyline. Julia, through all of it, we never broke a single promise. Not one.
Wow, you look absolutely breathtaking.
Thank you so much, Matteo.
You look absolutely stunning, Julia.
Thank you for making this night so special, Matteo.
Julia, through all of it, we broke a single promise. Not one. Matteo, his tone shifting to something deeper, more serious. Because those promises weren't just words to me, Julia. They were the blueprint of my life. The proposal, Harry's Bigelow. Continuous. The waiter discreetly clears the plates and places a beautifully crafted dessert in the center of the table. The miniature sugar sculpture of the Molo Audace pier surrounded by wild berries. Julia gasps softly, recognizing the detail. Julia, Mateo, this is beautiful. Mateo doesn't look at the dessert. His eyes are locked onto hers. He reaches across the table and takes both of her hands in his. Mateo, at our university farewell party, we showed everyone that we were inseparable. The truth is, I didn't need a party to know that. I knew it the moment I met you. We've built our careers, we've proven ourselves to the world, and we've spent 3 years living in separate spaces, waiting for the weekends just to feel complete. He stands up from his chair. The ambient light of the restaurant seems to narrow down to just the two of them. He walks around the table and drops to one knee. The rest of the dining room falls away to absolute silence. Mateo, haunted. I don't want to wait for the weekends anymore, Julia. I don't want to say goodbye at your apartment door. I want to build a life, a home, and a future where there are no spaces between us. He pulls the velvet box from his pocket and opens it. The diamond sparkles brilliantly under the chandelier light. Julia's hands fly to her mouth, tears instantly welling in her eyes. Mateo's vow. Julia Martini, you are my anchor in every storm, and my greatest joy in every celebration. Will you do me the ultimate honor of becoming my wife? Will you marry me? For a breathless second, the world stops. Julia looks at the ring, into the eyes of the man who has loved her unconditionally through every chapter of
To another great weekend. I love it here.
I love it here.
This will be the perfect spot,
We can put the crib
right by the window.
and we'll need a bigger table. For all the Sunday dinners we will host,
Can you believe this view, Julia?
it is perfect for our family.
We will make so many memories here.
Yes, we certainly will.
box from his pocket and opens it. The diamond sparkles brilliantly under the chandelier light. Julia's hands fly to her mouth, tears instantly welling in her eyes. Mateo's vow. Julia Martini, you are my anchor in every storm, and my greatest joy in every celebration. Will you do me the ultimate honor of becoming my wife? Will you marry me? For a breathless second, the world stops. Julia looks at the ring, and into the eyes of the man who has loved her unconditionally through every chapter of her youth. Julia, voice choking with emotion, nodding fiercely. Yes! Yes, Mateo! 1,000,000 times! Yes! The restaurant erupts into spontaneous, elegant applause. Mateo slips the ring onto her finger, stands up, and sweeps her into his arms. They kiss with a passion fueled by years of devotion, completely lost in each other. The immediate leap and the parental condition. Harry's Bigelow. Later, they are back at the table, their hands tightly intertwined. Julia cannot stop looking at her ring, her face flushed with happiness. Mateo pours the remaining champagne. Mateo, now that you've said yes, I have another proposal for you. An immediate one. Julia, smiling, amused. Oh, more surprises? Mateo, my lease is up at the end of this week. And your apartment? Well, we both know we practically live out of suitcases anyway. Don't move into another separate space, Julia. Move in with me, right now. Let's find our definitive home together this week. Julia's breath catches slightly. The idea is thrilling, romantic, and exactly what she wants. But her analytical mind and her upbringing kick in. Julia Matteo, you know nothing would make me happier. I want to wake up next to you every day. But you know my family, you know my parents. Moving in together before the wedding, it's a big step for them to process.
This will be the perfect spot,
We can put the crib
right by the window.
and we'll need a bigger table. For all the Sunday dinners we will host. Ciao mamma, siamo qui! Oh mio Dio, non ci credo!
Che splendida notizia, venite dentro. Julia, you are the love of my life. Will you marry me?
Yes, 1,000 times yes!
Up next to you every day. But you know my family, you know my parents. Moving in together before the wedding, it's a big step for them to process. I want their blessing on our transition. Matteo, nodding respectfully, I completely understand. And I want it too. Let's go see them tomorrow. Together, Martini family home, living room. Sunday afternoon. A traditional, beautifully appointed villa in the hills of Trieste. The atmosphere is warm but formal. Signor and Signora Martini sit on a velvet sofa. Matteo and Julia sit across from them. Julia's ring is on full display. Signora Martini is already wiping a joyful tear from her eye, while Signor Martini looks at the young couple with a mixture of pride and serious contemplation. Signora Martini, my beautiful girl, engaged. Matteo, you could not have wished for a better man for our daughter. Proving your character over these years. Matteo. Thank you, Signora. She is my entire world. Matteo clears his throat, shifting slightly to face Signor Martini directly. Matteo, commented. Signor Martini, we also wanted to discuss our next steps with you. I have asked Julia to move in with me immediately. We want to start building our shared household as we prepare for our life together. I wanted to ask for your approval and your blessing on this choice. An intense silence fills the room. Signor Martini looks at his daughter, seeing the mature, independent woman she has become, and then at Matteo, whose gaze is steady and unwavering. Signor Martini, Matteo, you are a good man, an honorable engineer, and you have loved my daughter with dignity. Times are changing, I know this. But tradition carries weight because it protects what is sacred. I will give my approval for you two to live together immediately, but under one strict condition. Matteo and Julia hold their breath. Signor Martini,
We have some very special news.
Look what happened. Oh my goodness, congratulations!
Julia, will you marry me?
Yes, 1,000 times. Look, we are getting married.
Isle, you must be officially married within a 1-year interval from today. A year is enough time to plan a beautiful wedding, but short enough to ensure your focus remains on the sacred commitment you just made last night. Do we have an agreement? Matteo doesn't hesitate for a fraction of a second. He looks at Julia, his face radiating pure certainty, and then back at her father. Matteo, Signor Martini, if it were up to me, I would marry her tomorrow. A year is more than enough time. We gladly agree to this condition. Julia beams, throwing her arms around her father's neck.
Thank you.
Julia, thank you, Papa. Thank you, Mama. Signor Martini finally smiles, a warm, paternal expression breaking through his stern facade as he reaches out to shake Matteo's hand firmly. The blueprint of a new lifetime, new apartment, balcony. 3 months later, dusk. A beautiful, spacious apartment overlooking the Gulf of Trieste. The balcony is lined with white flowers. Moving boxes are visible inside through the open glass doors, but the living space is already starting to look like a home. Matteo stands at the railing, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the Adriatic Sea in shades of pink and gold. Julia steps out onto the balcony, holding 2 glasses of white wine. She slips her arm around his waist, leaning her head against his shoulder. Her platinum wedding planner book rests on a table nearby. A date circled in red, exactly 9 months away. Julia, we did it. The last box is unpacked. We are officially roommates, fiance and fiancé, and future husband and wife. Mateo, kissing the top of her head, wrapping his arms securely around her. How does it feel? No more separate apartments, no more saying goodbye at midnight. Julia, it feels like the natural conclusion of everything we started back at university. And the perfect beginning to the rest of our lives. They clink their glasses together, looking out over the infinite sea, perfectly secure in the promises they kept, and the future they are building, hand in hand, completely inseparable.
Let's take our time,
I agree. Brick by brick.
brick by brick.
Perfect foundation. I have meticulously balanced tonight's macronutrients.
Our masterpiece.
The Architecture of Joy, a Trieste love story. Mateo, 27 to 31. Senior structural engineer. Wholesome, deeply organized, fiercely loving, and an attentive partner. Julia, 27 to 31. Senior wealth manager. Elegant, brilliant, emotionally expressive, and radiant. Francesco and Francesca, the newborn twins. The 3-year agreement, Foundations of Joy. The Trieste apartment. Balcony, night, year 1. The warm summer breeze of the Adriatic Sea rustles the white linen curtains of their living room. Outside on the terrace, a small table is set with a candle flickering inside a glass hurricane lantern. The lights of the Trieste harbor twinkle below like falling stars. Mateo and Julia sit close together on a plush outdoor love seat, sharing a single cashmere blanket over their laps. Julia rests her head securely on Mateo's chest. He traces gentle circles on her shoulder. Julia, looking out at the water. Do you remember the conversation we had on the lawn during our graduation party? Everyone was talking about mortgages, immediate promotions, and rushing into the next 10 years of life. Mateo, smiling, kissing her hair. I remember. You wore that emerald dress. We hid behind the old oak tree. We promised each other that the world could rush all it wanted. We would take our time. Julia. 3 years, just you and me. To travel, to grow into our careers, to date each other without a single distraction. I'm so glad we made that pact, Mateo. I want to build our marriage brick by brick before we build a family. Mateo, an engineer always ensures the foundation cures completely before adding the upper floors, my love. These 3 years are for us, to laugh, to explore, and to love each other with everything we have. When the time comes for babies, we will be ready. But until then, every weekend is a blank canvas. Barcola Promenade, Sunday morning.
Questo posto è davvero incantevole.
Sapevo che ti sarebbe piaciuto moltissimo.
Sunday morning, year 1. The sky is a brilliant, cloudless azure. The sea is crisp and clear, with small sailboats cutting through the whitecaps. Mateo and Julia are rollerblading along the smooth pavement of the Barcola Promenade, laughing loudly. Julia loses her balance slightly on a small pebble, letting out a playful gasp. Mateo, moving with practiced agility, catches her by the waist instantly, pulling her safely against his chest. Mateo, caught you. Safe structural support, as promised. Julia, giggling, her arms around his neck. I think I stumbled on purpose, just to see if your reflexes were still as good as they were in college. Mateo, they're better now. I have a highly valuable cargo to protect. He gently kisses her nose before helping her stabilize. They unlock hands only to lace their fingers
My
together,
heart belongs only to you.
continuing their glide along the coast toward Miramar Castle. A picture of pure, unadulterated youth
Ti amo
and
più di ogni
romance.
altra cosa.
The wanderlust years,
Matteo,
holiday
anche io ti
escapes,
amo per sempre.
luxury boutique, hotel, Florence, autumn, year 2. A magnificent room with exposed wooden beams, terracotta floors, and a massive arched window overlooking the terracotta dome of the Duomo. Rain patters softly against the glass, creating an incredibly cozy, isolated haven. Julia stands by the window, wrapped in a thick, fluffy hotel bathrobe, holding a steaming mug of hot chocolate. Mateo approaches from behind, sliding his arms around her waist, burying his face in the crook of her neck. Mateo, we have been in this room for 24 hours, and I haven't looked at my work email once. It feels illegal. Julia, turning in his arms, smiling radiantly. Good. The Trieste banking sector doesn't exist this week. The shipyard doesn't exist. There's only Florence, the rain, and us. Mateo, where are we exploring tomorrow? The Uffizi? The Boboli Gardens? Julia, nowhere.
This will be the perfect spot,
We can put the crib
right by the window.
and we'll need a bigger table. For all the Sunday dinners we will host.
Be exploring tomorrow. The Uffizi? The Boboli Gardens? Julia, nowhere. Tomorrow, I want to order breakfast to the bed, read our books, and listen to the rain. Promised we would lodge for the whole holiday without any schedules. Mateo, your wish is my absolute command, Mrs. Vanni. He picks her up effortlessly, carrying her back to the sprawling, king-sized bed as she laughs, the sound bouncing off the historic Tuscan walls, the Dolomites, Cortina d'Ampezzo, winter, year 3, snow blankets the towering jagged peaks of the Italian Alps. The air is freezing, but the sun is dazzlingly bright. Mateo and Julia are sitting on the outdoor deck of a high-altitude Alpine chalet, surrounded by snowdrifts. They are dressed in fashionable, heavy winter gear. Mateo opens a small thermos, pouring steaming mulled wine into a shared metal cup. He takes her gloved hands and rubs them vigorously to warm them up. Julia, looking around at the majestic peaks. This is the third region we've traveled to this year. Venice in the spring, Rome in the summer, now the mountains. We've kept our promise so beautifully, Mateo. Mateo. We have. We've seen the world together. We've built our careers and we've spent every weekend falling deeper in love. He looks at her intensely, his eyes glowing with a mixture of reverence and excitement. Mateo, Conted, Julia. Our 3-year anniversary is next month. The agreement we made, the timeline we set. Julia smiles, her cheeks flushed pink from the mountain air. She reaches out, gently touching his face with her gloved hand. Julia, I know. I've been thinking about it too. I think our foundation is perfectly cured, engineer. I think I'm ready for the next floor. Mateo's face lights up with a joy so profound, it rivals the brightness of the Alpine sun. He pulls her into a tight, breathless hug in the middle of the snowy paradise.
the second one. A boy and a girl.
The seed of life. The announcement. The Trieste apartment. Bathroom, bedroom. Morning. Year 3 plus 1 month. The morning sun filters softly through the bedroom blinds. Matteo is fast asleep, snoring softly under a white duvet. In the adjacent bathroom, Julia stands over the sink. Her hands are trembling. She looks down at a small white plastic stick resting on a marble tray. 2 distinct, unmistakable pink lines glow brightly. A gasp escapes her lips, a mixture of shock, immense happiness, and overwhelming love. Tears instantly spring to her eyes. She grabs the stick, runs into the bedroom, and climbs onto the bed, gently shaking Matteo's shoulders. Julia, voice shaking, crying happily. Matteo. Matteo, wake up. Please, my love, wake up. Matteo, blinking sleepily, disoriented. Julia, what's wrong? Are you okay? Is it the Bora wind? Julia doesn't speak. She simply holds up the positive test right in front of his eyes. Matteo blinks once, twice. The realization hits him like a tidal wave. He sits up instantly, his eyes widening. Matteo, a voice, a whisper of awe. You? We? A baby? Julia, nodding, the tears flowing freely. I missed my period, Matteo. It's positive. We're going to be parents. Matteo doesn't say another word. He reaches out, pulls her into his lap, and wraps his arms around her so tightly, it feels as though he wants to fuse their souls together. He buries his face in her neck, his own tears wetting her skin. Matteo, thank you, thank you, thank you, Julia. This is the greatest day of my life. The effortless journey, support and comfort. The apartment kitchen, evening. Month 4 of pregnancy. The kitchen counters are covered in cookbooks, fresh vegetables, and organic proteins. Julia is sitting comfortably on a high stool, her small, barely visible baby bump showing under a soft maternity dress. She is reading a financial magazine. Matteo wears a comical chef's apron over his professional work clothes. He is dynamically tossing a...
Good morning, sleepyhead.
Are you serious? Catch me if you can, Francesco.
You are so fast, Francesca.
Look at all the flowers, Mama.
What a beautiful day for a picnic, Julia.
Look at that pretty butterfly, Francesca. Shall we go for a little walk now, Francesco?
Nutrient-rich spinach and ginger sauté while a pot of fresh pasta bubbles nearby. Matteo, consulting a chart pinned to the refrigerator. According to the prenatal nutritional guide for week 16, the baby requires an increased intake of iron, calcium, and folic acid. I have meticulously balanced tonight's macronutrients, Mrs. Vanni. Julia, laughing affectionately. Matteo, you are approaching my pregnancy like it's a high-stakes government infrastructure project. Matteo, setting a beautiful, healthy plate in front of her. It is much more important than that. This is our legacy. How is your back feeling? Do you need the orthopedic pillow? Julia, taking a bite, her eyes lighting up. This is delicious. And my back is fine because you rubbed it for 30 minutes this morning before work. You are making this pregnancy feel absolutely effortless, Matteo. I feel like a queen. Matteo, kneeling beside her stool, gently placing his hand over her small bump.
Matteo,
You
please wake
are
up.
my queen, and whoever is in there is the future of our world. My only job for the next 5 months is to make sure you don't lift a single finger or feel a single ounce of stress. The apartment living room. Night. Month 7 of pregnancy. Julia is lounging on the sofa, her bump now prominently round and beautiful. Her feet are resting in Matteo's lap. He has poured a small amount of soothing lavender oil into his palms and is expertly massaging her ankles and feet with steady, rhythmic pressure. Julia, sighing with deep relaxation. Oh, heaven. Absolute heaven. If anyone told me that pregnancy could be this peaceful, I wouldn't have believed them. My friends at the bank talk about morning sickness, stress, and exhaustion. But with you here, I feel like I'm on a continuous holiday. Matteo, smiling, never stopping the massage. That's because we prepared for this, Julia. Our bodies, our minds, our home. We built the stability.
I can't believe this view is ours now.
We finally made it home, Julia. I can't believe it's finally ours.
It is absolutely perfect, Matteo. Matteo, look.
Oh my God!
Matteo shifts up, placing his large hand gently over the side of her belly. Beneath his palm, a distinct, firm kick pushes against the skin. Then another one on the opposite side. Matteo, eyes wide with engineering wonder. Whoa, that was a double impact. It felt like two distinct movements at the exact same time. Julia, looking at him with a knowing, emotional smile. Our ultrasound appointment is tomorrow morning, Matteo. I think the doctor is going to confirm exactly what you just felt. Ultrasound clinic. Next day, the room is dim. The rhythmic, rapid sound of a heartbeat echoes beautifully through the room from the monitor. Thump, 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 thump. The OBGYN moves the transducer over Julia's gel-covered stomach. Matteo sits right next to the bed, holding Julia's hand with an iron grip, his eyes glued to the black and white screen. OBGYN. Well, Mr. and Mrs. Vani, look right here. Here is one healthy, perfectly formed gestational sac. And if I move just slightly to the left, here is the second one. Matteo's breath hitches. Julia looks up at him, tears of awe spilling over her eyelashes. Matteo twins? OBGYN. Smiling broadly, twins. A boy and a girl. Perfectly healthy, growing exactly on schedule. Julia turns her head to Matteo, her voice filled with an overwhelming, celestial happiness. Julia. A boy and a girl. Matteo. Our family is coming, all at once. Matteo leans over, kissing her lips, her eyes, and her forehead, his heart bursting with a gratitude so vast it defies description. A double blessing. Francesco and Francesca, Trieste Hospital, maternity ward, night, month 9. The room is peaceful, filled with the soft ambient glow of a bedside lamp and the scent of fresh flowers sent by their parents. The heavy window glass blocks out the sound of the Trieste night. Julia lies in the hospital bed, propped up by pillows. She looks exhausted, her hair slightly damp.
I still can't believe you asked me at Molo Audace.
It was the perfect place by the sea for us. I still can't believe you said yes.
I love you so much.
You're spectacular, Julia.
Generali Investment keeps me busy, but you keep me grounded.
And the scent of fresh flowers sent by their parents. The heavy window glass blocks out the sound of the Trieste night. Julia lies in the hospital bed, propped up by pillows. She looks exhausted, her hair slightly damp, but she has never looked more beautiful, more radiant, more fulfilled. Cradled securely in her left arm is a newborn infant wrapped in a soft blue blanket. Cradled in her right arm is another newborn infant wrapped in a soft pink blanket. Matteo sits on the edge of the mattress, his arm wrapped protectively around Julia's shoulders, gazing down at the two tiny miracles they created. Matteo, voice cracking with deep emotion. You were incredible, Julia. 9 months of absolute grace, and a delivery that proved how strong you truly are. You are my hero. Julia, tiredly but happily resting her head on his shoulder. I was strong because I knew you were standing right at the head of the bed, holding my hand, anchoring me. Look at them, Mateo. They look exactly like you. Mateo, gently touching the tiny hand of the boy, which instantly curls around his index finger. Welcome to the world, Francesco Vanni. You are going to build great things, my son. Julia, kissing the forehead of the tiny girl, who lets out a soft, sweet sigh. And welcome to the world, Francesca Vanni. You are going to rule the world with grace, my sweet daughter. Mateo leans down, creating a protective canopy over his wife and his twins. A journey that started in the lecture halls of the university matured through 3 years of beautiful romance and exploration, and finally arrived at its most magnificent destination. Matteo, Francesco, and Francesca. Our masterpiece, Julia, the ultimate extension of us. We stay like that as the midnight moon rises over Trieste. A perfect family of 4, completely secure, bound by an unbreakable lineage of love, forever hand in hand.
Ah.